let's go back in the studio. But then 4 is not such a good number, so maybe 5 is a better number, so maybe now we're going to have to do a 5th. Now that we've done a 4th album, we will probably have to do a 5th, but we're not going to rush into it. We'll take our time and maybe start 2011. Maybe if the world is still here at 2012, maybe that's Shpongle's time.
Okay, we heard something that you got something to do with the Bina project. But it is known only by one song. Why haven't it been developed before?
That was because it was a label called Flying Rhino, who have now unfortunately finished. And it was myself and a guy called George Barker, who was also in Slinky Wizard, another trance act. And we found this friend of ours called Jewel, who was an amazing singer. And George said, come on, let's do a track with Jewel for the Eclipse. Twisted also released an Eclipse CD, but then there was another Eclipse later in the Caribbean, and they wanted also to do an Eclipse CD. So they said, let's do a track for the Eclipse with George and Jewel. And so, I'm in contact with George, but Jewel lives in Sweden. She's changed her name now, I forget what it is, but she also makes music now. I think it's very different, so that's why it was just one project. It was only one time that we all got together in the studio at the same time, and we needed a name for it, so that's why it has a different name from everything else.
Okay. Getting back to Shpongle, how many people are actually now at the group? Are you planning to extend it for live shows?
Well, in the studio it's just me and Raj, and then if we want, I can play guitar, but if we want really good guitar, then we'll get Pete Callard in, or we might get Harry in to play some cello. But, obviously we can't do everything live with just the two of us. So, really Shpongle, we need a lot more musicians. We need 20 musicians to play live, really, so anything is possible. I don't know. We can add more musicians, less musicians. I'm open to everything.
Tell us the real story of your and Raj meeting, because we know the one that you've been telling about how you met at the Total Eclipse in India. And then you've...
That story is not true, I have to say. I don't know who made that up, but when we met, I'd never been to India, and I only went to India like 2 years ago, in fact. And although I'm going again on Wednesday, so I love India, but that story is not true. We actually met in a studio called Butterfly Studios, which was run by youth, and it was an amazing sort of very creative space where they had 3 studios, 2 upstairs and 1 downstairs. I was downstairs working with my band Purple Om. Raj was upstairs working with Graham, and every day we had this amazing Indian cook called Mrs. Chan, who would come and make fantastic vegetarian, home-cooked Indian food. I'm starting to salivate thinking about the food. But all the people in the studio would come and meet in the living room, and we'd all meet for dinner. So I met Raj, and we'd tell jokes to each other and make each other laugh, and we said, we should work together, let's do a tune together. And then we went to Glastonbury Festival, which is a huge festival in England for 120,000 people. And we took some acid together and had an amazing time at the festival, and said, okay, let's write something ambient, something down-tempo, and that's when we started Shpongle.
Can you please tell us, do you have a choreographer, or you do all the dances yourself?
No, all the dancers that we have, Sid Shahar and the Brazilian dancers, we found on the internet. So when Raj and I are in the studio, Raj spends a lot of time on the sofa doing drawings and stuff because he can't work the computer or play the keyboards and stuff. So while I'm working at the computer, Raj was looking up talent agencies and dancers and finding people on the internet. And so he saw Sid dancing, the guy that we've got here who's going to be dancing on stilts. he found him dancing with like a white sheet and looking like a sort of a spiritual ghost sort of figure. And then because we had the Brazilian influence for the Brazilian tracks, he said, oh, let's find some Brazilian dancers. So Raj was sort of in charge of finding all these strange dancers. And then when we come to Russia, for example, we say, okay, we want some Brazilian dancers. We tell the promoter, can you find someone for us? And they find them. So, you know, we don't choreograph everything. All the dancers do everything themselves. We just tell them what songs to come in and dance on, and we let them do whatever they want. We let the musicians do what they want, the dancers do what they want. All we want is to have fun, really.
What do you feel of your music when you do it? What emotions do you actually feel, and what do you, I don't know.
Well, when making the music, for me, it's like a meditation. I'm sitting there for many hours in front of the computer. My screen is about this far away from me. I sit there with a mouse, and I block everything else out of my mind. My family, my friends, even food. We don't eat. We spend a lot of time in the studio just smoking and making music. And so the emotion is not always an emotion. It's like a meditation, as I say. The emotion comes when you've finished a tune, and it's one of two things. If it's a bad tune, it's huge disappointment, and you think, you know, oh, we've messed this one up, shall we try it again, or move on. And normally we just move on, and there are some tunes that Raj and we don't like so much, but they turn out to be the fans' favourites. You know, you think a tune isn't finished, and we think, oh, I wish I had more time to finish this tune. And to me, it doesn't sound finished, but then the fans say it's their favourite tune. But if I've done a really good tune that I feel I've stretched myself as an artist and accomplished new things, for example, and the track And the Day Turned to Night, which I think was the last track on the first album, when we did that, I was very excited because I thought I'd programmed it really well, and it was 20 minutes long or something. I'd never made such a long piece, and in a strange time signature, in 7/8 time signature, which was unusual for me. And so, you know, when I finish a tune, that's when the emotion comes, and it's a mixture of relief. It's like, oh, thank God it's finished. Now I can sleep and relax. And also pride. You know, if you've done something good, you feel proud as an artist to do something that you like. Whether the fans like it or not is something different. You can't make music for the fans. You know, occasionally I look at the forums and people like different things, but you have to make music for you and, you know, what feels good in my heart. If I've done something where I know I've worked hard and tried my best, then I feel good.
There are different views on electronic music, and there are some people who say that it's soulless, so it's not unnatural or something. Do you ever met such people, and how do you react? What do you want them to know, actually?
I would say 3 words to them. Take some drugs. No, I'm not going to say that, but I think, you know, much electronic music is soulless. Well, not soulless, but it can sound very cold. It's a different type of listening, in the same way that listening to classical music or jazz requires a different part of your brain and a different way to appreciate music and listen to music. Also, electronic music requires a slightly different way of listening, and it's a different skill to make electronic music. And like any style, there is bad jazz, there's horrible jazz that no one wants to listen to, and the people that like jazz would say, oh no, that's awful. But there's also amazing pieces that, you know, astound you and fill your heart with joy or sadness. And the same is with electronic music. There's good electronic music, there's bad electronic music. To say there is no soul is, I think, wrong. I think what it means is maybe if you say that, I think maybe your soul isn't complete and you haven't opened your mind enough to be able to hear it in a different way. Certainly taking psychedelic drugs does help, because when you do that you realize you don't want to hear someone singing about love lost, love gained, or, you know,